It's Professor Fernandez. How are you guys doing? I'll get to how it's going up here in a minute, but I wanted to double check to see that the audio is great. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please put something in the text box. Cool. Good. All right, good. All right, so let's get started here. There is probably a little, Cassandra, there is probably a little breakage here. So just a heads up, it is super windy in Dallas. Like, I'm right next to the window, and it's a sliding glass window. I can hear it with headphones on, so you may be able to hear it. The mic may pick that up, so we have a little bit of a sound issue. And there's also a lag on this naturally with good Wi-Fi. So there may be a little bit more of a lag to this video because I'm on the Wi-Fi in the hotel. And everyone is on the Wi-Fi on the hotel, so there may be a little bit of a lag. If something happens and sound and connection is broken and where I'm not able to get back on, note that there is the lesson. There's a voice or PowerPoint with a voiceover for this lesson in step 2, I believe. And so in case something happens, step 2 is available. The discussion post for today's activity is still going to be open. So let me make sure that you guys understand that. So if you understand what I just said, please say okay. Okay. Good. Yeah, the the sliding glass door just rattled, so good times. All right, so let's get started here. So those are the things today. So how I'm going to be taking role today, I'm going to give you the lesson today. It's about social issues. After we're done with the lesson, which shouldn't take long, in step 1 of your module board, and you are going to need to fill out the discussion board as you usually do. The only caveat is that it is done during your class period. So the 12:30 class ends officially at 1:50. So you have until 1:50 to finish the discussion post plus the 2 replies. The discussion board closes exactly at 1:50, and that's how I'm going to take roll. Okay, so everybody understands how that works. So let's go ahead and get started here. If you had me for 1301, you're probably having deja vu at the moment. So let me do a screen share here and go to here. All right, so I'm doing a screen share here, and this is what your course looks like for the week. So let me go to content here. All right, so let's go to social issues and do some learning. All right. So can you guys see that? Go ahead and do an okay for me. Make sure you guys are able to see that. And this is how I look to make sure that you guys are doing your work as I do this. So, all right, cool. So you guys are able to see that? You're able to see my screen? All right. I'm going to assume yes. Yes. Okay, good. All right, so let's get started. As usual, take notes during this bad boy. This, again, there's a version of this with a voiceover, like your typical PowerPoint with voiceover lesson in step 2. So if there's something that you missed during this live stream, it's there. Also, the replay for this live stream will be in step 2 as well. So I've linked that there, so you have all those resources. So today's lesson is about social issues. So we did the first half of this class. This first half uh, talking about argument is for each of the stories that we were reading, whether it's Literature from Birmingham Jail or Monstrous, and we learned all this stuff. We learned the process, the rhetorical analysis process, or the rhetorical situation process. We know what we have to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Then we know that when we get to analyzing the style of the piece, we have to pull out some things from our toolbox. We have to pull out either the elements of fiction or the elements of design, if we're looking at visuals, if we're looking at the elements of argument, if we're doing nonfiction. So we've learned all that. I am adding to this, right? So we've talked about the argument. Now we're talking about the social issues, the argument of social issues in the pieces that we're reading, okay? So for this particular pen and paper notes, as you probably going to need it for this week's discussion posts. Notes from the past couple of lessons, just in case I ask you some questions, and definitely keep an open mind. You're learning skills that you've never learned before, and you're applying old skills in a new way. So I definitely need you to keep an open mind. So what you're going to learn here is what a social issue is. There's a lot of definitions of social issues. It's not exactly what you think, just like you thought you knew what persuasion was until I told you another definition, and now you have no idea what it is. It's kind of on the same vein. I'm going to give you some examples of social issues and how that is played out in literature. We're going to read a whole new group of stories. So everything about Letter from Birmingham Jail and Harrison Bergeron and Capital Punishment and Monstrous, we're done with those for now. So we're reading a whole new crop of stories. So we're going to play with that. And so we're also going to talk about how these all become the argument. I want to start off the lesson with a quote from Linda Sue Park, who is a writer, and kind of give you the perspective of how these arguments end up in literature from the perspective of the writer. I do think that part of literature's job is to comment on and participate in the social issues of the time. So, and that's really what we're doing. What we're doing is having a conversation, and I'm using conversation very, very loosely because you're really not talking to these pieces. And if you are, we may be able to get you help. But you're really reading in and understanding social issues from different perspectives and what people think. It's another way of giving an opinion, really. So let's define the social issue. Social issues are a problem that influences a considerable number of people, a large group. So nothing that only impacts 3 people or only impacts just like, one little city. It's something that impacts a large number of people, and it's a large number of people within a society. It is often the consequence of factors extending beyond their own control. And there's tons of social issues. In fact, there's social issues in media and in news ad nauseum every day. So we're focusing on the literary work and how it reflects the world issue. We are going to see how that impacts an individual's way of life. And when it does, it's called a social problem. See the difference? The social issue is the actual thing, and how it impacts a life is a social problem. Everyone is impacted by social issues. There's not one person on the planet that is not impacted by social issues. Everyone is impacted. And there's 2 different types of impacts. There's the positive and the negative impacts. So when I ask you later on, hint, hint, what are some social issues that affects you positively? Maybe you get some acknowledgement from a social issue and you didn't really think about it that hard because it's and also think about the negative. What is impacting you negatively and you really didn't give thought to, right? There's always an impact, whether positive or negative. Here are some examples of some social issues. It's really, this slide is really just a what else I can say? I just lost my train of thought. Really just a visual. So the big list is here. And the big list is this is not a non-comprehensive list. So this is a list of some pretty big social issues. And this is pretty much up to the minute. This impacts a large group of people. Gender equality being one, and under these big, huge social issues, there's usually always subtopics under them. So you have gender equality and sexism, going under gender equality, male privilege, feminism, patriarchy. That all goes under gender equality. Then you have environment, climate change, deforestation, fracking goes under environment, and that impacts population. Civil rights is a big one because lots of things go under civil rights. Civil rights. In fact, I think there's so many civil rights subtopics that I kind of think it should be its own lesson sometimes. You've got the racial inequality, racism, prejudice, discrimination, Black Lives Matter, police brutality, the All Lives Matter movement as well, LGBTQ rights, marriage, bathroom laws, etc. Those are all civil rights. Then you have terrorism, public safety, politics, and discrimination go under terrorism. Poverty, what's happening with the working poor, proper housing for the working poor, or how housing impacts the services that you get in an area, like the fact that you have a grocery store down the street, or 2 grocery stores, or 5 grocery stores, and some people don't even have one. So that is a housing thing sometimes. Classism is another one, minimum wage, affordable housing, income inequality. So there's like the big list, and then there's the smaller sub lists. These are a bunch of social issues. This is not a comprehensive list. There's much more than what I have here, but this is something to get you started with. Okay, so let's talk about gender versus specific. The problem with social issues, but not everyone knows about social issues. What's the difference between racism, discrimination, and prejudice? Some people say, oh, that's racism, but what they really mean is prejudice. Or stop being prejudice, but what they really mean is that this is discrimination. So knowing what these terms actually mean and identifying what it is makes a big difference on what the author is trying to argue. You may say that, say, Letters from Birmingham Jail is about racism, and you would be right, but someone else can say, no, he's really talking about discrimination, not quite racism. And they'll be able to argue you. And they would be quite right as well. So it's really kind of what you're pulling from it. Homeless, poverty, mental illness, access to services. Sometimes you have more than one social issue, and sometimes they overlap. Sometimes you have someone who lives in poverty, who is homeless and has mental illness, but doesn't have access to medical services, or does have access to medical services, but they're not great. So that kind of happens as well. Just because it's the buzzword that's happening in media or in public discourse doesn't necessarily mean that the public is using it accurately. Define it. Literally do the due diligence. Go to Credo. Define what it is. Feminism is one of those words where it gets thrown around a lot, but it's not clearly defined in public discourse. So that's one thing that you want to define. And you always want to start off when you're breaking down these stories and looking at the social issue. You want to define that social issue to make sure that's the correct social issue you're talking about. So at this time, I'm gonna pause right in here. I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions. I'm gonna flip to the other screen. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, so that way you guys can. Oh, I have something to say. Help. What's up? So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the text box. I see that Monique and Brendan need help with something, but I'm not quite sure what they need help with because they didn't tell me. So go ahead and type it in text box because that's how I can communicate with you guys. Okay, y'all can see now too. Were you guys not able to see the presentation? Oh no, but you could hear me, yes? You couldn't see the screen, but could you hear me? You could hear me, but couldn't see. Kelly says, not at all. Kelly, when you said not at all, you couldn't see me at all or you couldn't hear me at all? Yes, yes, heard. Okay. Um, Let me try another. I can try another screen share. Pretty much the first half of that talked about social issues and what they are, and talked about which social issues to look at. Um, you can see me now. Okay, good. Let me try to screen share again and see how that works now. Yeah, we have the issue is that we are on the your entire screen. Let's see. We're on the okay, I got you. All right, can you see my screen now? Yes, you can see my screen now. You can see my okay. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna go back a couple of slides so you can see what I was talking about. Um, okay, so we're on the definition slide, and this I think this is an important slide. So when we're talking about social issues, we're talking social issues that impact a large group, with a large group, not two or three people, but 1,000 people. Not just one thing, one like little line or one little neighborhood or one little street, but the entire neighborhood or the entire side of town, right? So it's a large group of people that are impacted. We're going to focus on this through literary work and how that social issue is being impacted through the world. Um, we are also going to know the difference between social issues and social problems. A social problem is persistent, it continues happening. A social issue is big. It's a bigger thing. It's almost like social issues are the universe, and social problems are the planets. All right. So that's how that goes. Everyone, and this I cannot stress enough. Usually, when I ask students, "Are how does something like um, fracking impact you?" Well, I don't live anywhere where fracking impacts me, so I'm not impacted either way. Well, how about drinking water? Fracking could impact drinking water. How about the cost of natural gas? Because fracking deals with natural gas. How does that impact you? Some people say, well, interesting, no joke. In one class, I had a student say, well, I'm a white male, nothing impacts me. No social issues impact me. I'm on the top of the food chain. Okay, so then what social issues are positively impacting you? And so you've got to look at it in both ways. Sometimes you gain from a social issue, sometimes you lose from a social issue, but there is always an impact. Got it? Yes? Hopefully, yes, yes, yes. I was not able to reply. Why did you have Alicia? No, okay, Alicia. Nobody. I don't understand why like things don't like you. Like if like technology does not like you. We'll have to talk, my love, when I get back. Okay, so if everybody gets that, I'm gonna move on. So these are actual. This is a visual of like some social issues, and I like this visual because they're all there and they show how they're all like impacting each other. But here's the exhaustive list that I went through earlier of the social issues. It's again non comprehensive, which means that it's not limited to this. This is just happens to be what was going on in the news at the time while I was putting this together. This is one day, what was happening in one day. So there's lots of social issues, and we talk a lot about social issues in this next half of class. We talked about generic versus specific, understanding that racism is not discrimination, it's not prejudice. There's a difference between each one. And some people say, hey, what you're doing is racism, when indeed it's probably just prejudice. Or, hey, I'm being discriminated against. Are you sure? Because that seems like racism. So understanding and knowing the definitions of the social issues as you're going through these stories is really important. Definitely go through Credo, because Credo defines every social issue. Do not go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia knows nothing. Do not do that. Go to Credo, because that is going to be your best bet. Okay. So this is not a sociology class. This is an English class, yes. So that's about as deep into sociology as I'm going to get in this class, and talking about social issues. We're specifically looking at social issues and arguments in the stories that we are about to read. So our job is to ask the big questions and attempt to answer them, knowing that the answers, if the answers exist, are not going to come easy. If you thought the first half of this was difficult, the second half of this is a little bit more difficult. So know that it's gonna take some work. Okay, so how does this, looking for arguments, how does this play with what we are learning, or what we've already learned about the process of things, right? So the argument, there's usually an argument made about a social issue in everything that we read. But sometimes there's more than one social issue or argument in it, and that's okay. Letter from Birmingham Jail has, I think at last count, I saw 5 social issues in one. That's why I teach the letter every semester. It's just so good and so nuanced. But yeah, there's lots of social issues. You may hit on one social issue in a story, and someone else will hit on something else. In particular, the next week's lesson, you're reading 2 short stories, and one person will see something in a story, and another person will see something else in the same story, and they're both social issues that are in one story, and it's perfectly valid to have them both. You want to make sure that you understand the context of the piece. Again, context is everything. Do your due diligence. You have access to really great databases. You have access to really great things. Use those, because stories and poems and letters and essays are not written in a vacuum. Someone doesn't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to write this letter how I'm being discriminated against. No, the context is Dr. King was arrested, and he wrote this in jail on toilet paper and on scrap paper. So thank you, Genesis from the Howler. Marcus Red, thank you. So that's what you want to understand, how it was written. And we've talked about context a lot during the first half of the semester, and it's going to make more sense, and it's going to be even more important in the second half. Again, the argument is one sentence. It states a claim that is arguable. It is one sentence, 5 words. It is not a question. The reason why the argument is never a question is because the argument is answering a question. So you can't answer a question with another question. So the argument's always going to be a statement, and it's going to be 5 to 7 words, right? So here is the interactive part of our lesson. I have an image on the screen. You guys went through the design elements, yes? You guys looked at images and what things are happening. Why don't you guys look at this image and tell me, what do you think the social issue is of this image? And what do you think the argument is on this image? And I'll make this a little bit bigger. Actually, I can't make it that much bigger. So you're just gonna have to strain, I guess. If you want a closer look at this, you can go to the second step and look at it. What is the social issue? What do you think the argument is? Yes. Yes, Alicia, post your answers in the text box. What are your what do you think the social issues there is in that image? And what do you think the argument is? I'm curious. Hmm. Okay. Brendan, you're right. The trees do form lungs, essentially. So that image, the way that it's forming the lungs has a lot to do with what the argument is. So try to synthesize that in one sentence. Great, Chris. Yes. Social issues destroying the environment or an environment social issue. Do you want to try your hand at trying seeing what an argument could be? Remember, Chris, the argument is one full sentence. So you need 5 to 7 words. Ooh, who's Brooklyn A102? Yes, that's a fantastic argument. Destroying the environment can destroy us. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So here for it. Let's see. Kelly wrote something. Where are you, Kelly? Pollution killing people. Yes. Um, work on your wording a little bit there, Kelly. Oh my gosh, y'all going it's going so quickly. The social issue is deforestation and destroying the environment. Yes, Jennifer. So try your hand at an argument. Environment is the social issue, and the argument might be people killing themselves as they kill the Earth's trees. Yes, Monique. Brooke. Yes, you did great. You did a good job. Pollution is destroying mankind. Good, Kelly. Jennifer, good job, good job. You want to see how like Kelly and Brooklyn are like have like kind of used their own wording. So look at their examples. Ugh, everybody wants to talk to me apparently. I'm getting lots of texts. Deforestation is gradually killing people due to lack of oxygen. Yes, Kelly. Oh, Kaylee. Okay, so Kaylee, try to do that in one sentence. Someone's knocking at the hotel door. Let me go get that right quick, and you guys keep working on that. Ooh. Ourselves. Yes, yes, yes. Alicia, by destroying our environment, we are destroying ourselves. Yes. You guys are getting it. Okay, let's try another one. So I'm going to do another screen share and I'm going to go to the next image and we'll do the same thing again. You'll look at the image, you'll identify the social issue, and then you will type and then you'll write what you think the argument is, okay? So let me go to screen share here. I've got so many windows open. Like you guys will be like, Miss Fernandez, how do you keep it all together? And I will say with grace and style. Okay. So let's go. Let's do this one. What do you think the issue in this one, and what is the argument? So I'll give you a couple seconds to look at before I stop the screen sharing and I look at your arguments. Okay. So what do you guys see? Chris Sosa, I'm with you. Poverty could be one of the social issues. This may have more than one. Monica Martin, feeding the homeless. So hunger could be the social issue. Yeah. So what do you think the argument is? What are they trying to argue? Very close, Chris. Reword your argument. Like use, I don't want to say better words, but yeah, use better words. Really think about your word choice. Let's see, Alicia. Social issue. We need to open random acts of kindness like feeding the hungry. So what you're saying is feeding the hungry. So hunger is your social issue. So what do you think the argument is? Kelly, you got this, man. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good argument. Good child neglect. Kaylee, could you reword it? Because I think it's just social issues could child neglect. Reword that for me. Like make it a full sentence. One can make a difference. Look, Monica, yes, that's a really good argument. Do you think the lady's hand being white and the child being black has anything to do with the argument? It can. Absolutely, Austin. That's a really good observation. It can. This particular image could have more than one argument. See how like Austin saw something that was a little bit different than what everybody else saw? That's what I mean. That someone can read the story and have and look and see one social issue, and someone else can read the exact same story and have a different social issue, see a different social issue. So that's exactly what I mean. McKinsey says, social issue is poverty, and the argument is courage can save lives. Okay. Explain to me about courage. What do you mean by courage? Let's see, Brooke. Shares with others who are in need. Share with others. Oh, yes. That could be an argument. Living in a country with little poverty can make us forget who really needs help. Okay. Good sentence. Good point of view. Shorter. Remember, 5 to 7 words. Shorter. Okay. So next time. Haley, sorry, the social issues could be child neglect. Yes, that sounds like English. Yes, it does sound like English. Good job, Kaylee. Yes, that could be good. See, like you saw child neglect, Austin saw like race, folks saw hunger, other folks saw poverty, and see how that works. Like one image for social issues. Want to try one more? Let's try one more. So you make sure you guys have it because I want to give you some time to do your activity. Alicia, I like that argument. Open your hearts to kindness. Yeah. Okay. Let me do another screen share here. Maybe, possibly. Yes, screen share. My entire screen. Thank you. And let's go to here. All right, let's do one more. Let's do this one. Give you a couple seconds here to look at the interesting image. What is social? Austin, Alicia. Austin, Alicia, are you laughing because of the image? Chris, yes, obesity is is one of the social issues. Yes, Monique, I like that. I like health. Fast food does make America fat, but let's be specific about the topic. Jennifer, yeah, obesity. Yes. Is there a way, Brooklyn, is don't love food that's bad for you? Is there a way that you can um, reword it with different words with the same sentiment? Remember, it's got to be arguable. Um, nobody's gonna argue that you shouldn't love food that's bad for you. So same, kind of the same sentiment, but different words. So it's arguable. Somebody can argue with you. Yes, Cassandra. Too much fat. People be fat. People be fat, right? Austin, marketing is misleading to the results. I don't understand what you mean, Austin. Could you reword, please? Chris, self control plays a part in our health. I think you got it, my friend. I think you do. Could you make it a little bit more arguable, though? A little bit more arguable. I don't think anybody would disagree with you, right? Make it a little bit more arguable. Ooh, it's coming. They're coming quickly. Okay. Let's see. Argument. Alicia, argument. Loving something can still affect you. It can. Make it a little bit more arguable. Turn it up one more notch. I like the loving something can. Choose your words for the second half of that. Think about it. Sorry, I thought that would be funny. Oh, what would be funny? I missed it. Oh, huh. Okay. It was kind of funny though. Monica. Yes, childhood obesity being social issue. Good. Obesity continues even after we have tried to stop it before. All right, Kaylee. Yes, that is true. That's actually a fact. You wanted it to be an argument. It needs to be arguable. Somebody needs to come back and be able to argue it. Argue it. I don't think anybody would argue that with you because it's happened. So give it another shot. Brendan. Obesity is an issue that makes everything taste good. I'm loving it. Yes, sir. Kelly, yes. You see Kelly's example here, guys. Um, Kelly's is, I would state it's a fact, but then somebody can come back and argue that McDonald's isn't causing obesity. Like people's lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle is causing obesity, or people don't know portion control. See how someone can argue Kelly's argument with McDonald's is causing obesity? Monique, yes, loving something too much can kill you. Good job. You guys are getting it. All right, I'm going to move on because I want to give you enough time to do your activity. The activity is how I'm going to take roll. So let me go ahead and screen share again. If I can find it now. Where's the thing? Where's the thing? Okay. All right. Share, please. There it goes. All right. That's not it. I have so many screens open. Okay, so you've done all this. So you're wondering, all right, this is really fun, Professor Fernandez, but how do we make this fit? All right. So the rhetorical situation is your process. Always remember, it's your process. So you're going to go through those steps. When you get to style, like always, you're going to identify what you're looking at. If you are looking at a short story, which is what we're going to be looking at for the rest of the semester, you're going to be pulling out the arguments of fiction or the elements of fiction. If you are looking at fiction, you're also going to pull out goal, motivation, conflict, and you're going to look at the argument overall, right? Then you're going to identify the social issue in that story, and you're going to write your argument. For example, if you're looking at Harrison Bergeron, you're saying that social issue there is government control, right? Or how the government controls people, or mob mentality. Whatever that social issue is, then your argument is going to be about that social issue. And all the evidence you have is going to be about how that argument is the argument, sorry, that social issue. All this, oh my gosh, I need more coffee. All the evidence you find is going to defend that social issue. And so your argument needs to be about that social issue and what the author is saying about the social issue. Makes sense? I've only had half a cup of coffee. And so, I'm working at like 70%, 60% right now. So that makes sense because I am the last one. So there are as many interpretations of a piece of work as there are people in the world. Just in this short example, in these images, one of the images that we saw, there was 4 social issues that you guys touched on in one image. So there's many interpretations of a piece of work as there are people in the world. So I say that to tell you that you may not be wrong. You will probably read some of this and you would probably say, oh, this is about this social issue. And then you'll probably get in class and everybody else is thinking something different. Don't think that you're wrong. You may be right. So give your opinion, right? So make sure your experiences don't cloud you from seeing the argument. Remember that your opinion of the social issue doesn't matter. So if you're pro this or con that, your political stance or social stance does not matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. It's what you are seeing in front of you that matters. But you can use your experiences to identify the arguments, right? There you go. So here's what you learned today. Lots of things. You know what social issues are, and you've been giving examples of the social issues. You learn how that impacts your argument. We looked at some visual arguments and we interpreted them and we added to the process of finding arguments. So does anybody have any questions? And I can answer them really, really quickly. If you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and move on to the discussion boards that are in step 1. Your class ends at 1:50. So you have until 1:50 to do the discussion post and to respond to 2 other people. I will be around and answering questions if you need to. My next live stream begins at 2 p.m. and I am done with that live stream at 3:20. So if you have any questions, if you want me to redo some things, if you have any questions about the Courage paper, you can go ahead and Skype me. I will be here because I am in this room all day working for you. And you can Skype me or email me. I will be here. I am always here for you. And apparently, just a quick announcement, something is happening with D2L and the Courage paper, like the link to the Courage paper, like people aren't able to upload things or the links aren't working. It's like, this one wasn't my fault. I will tell you that. we'll make this work because you guys have been working really hard. So, you guys have any questions for me? This discussion post will not let you in. All right, let me look. Let me go into D2L. It should let you in. You know what? Kelly, refresh. Go ahead and refresh because you probably got this link from the news items, and it clicked on while we were doing this. So you've got refresh, and if it's not letting you in, then I will go in and sprinkle fairy dust. Apparently, because it is what it is. It let you in, Alicia. Yeah, I think that's what happened. Because Kelly, you were one of the first people in here, so it was scheduled to turn on like shortly after class already started. So go ahead and refresh. Do y'all hear the wind at all? At all? It's like right here. Okay, cool, Kelly. Thank you for letting me know. So you guys have until 1:50, and you know how D2L is, so don't say, oh, it's like 1:49, I have a minute. You know how it likes to shut down, you know how it is. So you have until 1:50 until the end of class to do that discussion post. Um, so if you have any questions, just jot them there. I'll hang out here for about a minute or two, and if there's no questions, I'll shut off the live stream and let you guys do your work. And Alicia, we're gonna have to work on like your tech thing because every time we do a tech thing, like Padlets or whatever, it's like yours is like I think it's your computer or like the tech gods don't like you or something. So we'll work on it. Like remind me next Thursday and I'll sit down with you and we'll work it out. Were you able to make the louder with Crowder speech at SMU in Dallas yesterday? No, we got in right at 5:45. And two of the howlers had a workshop at 6 p.m. So we literally like we stopped in the middle of the road, dropped them in right in front of the hotel, and went and parked. And so we went out for dinner and left home, hotel, and slept. So no, I didn't hear the speech at all. Do we have to watch the video and answer the questions? No, the video there is an aid to help you go through Credo should you need to. No, Lisa, you don't know. Don't freak out. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It'll be okay. A funny little thing. I am doing a presentation tomorrow for this newspaper thing we're at in Dallas, and I'm literally teaching the 5 elements of fiction and how that applies to journalism tomorrow. So you guys are ahead of the game. Just FYI. Yeah, Alicia. Let me see. Let me double check because I wrote this a week ago, and I barely remember 5 minutes ago. Yes, Alicia. But don't be like, I like peanut butter. Don't do one of those short sentences. I am looking for depth. And I am looking for you to go into credo and identify those um, those social issues, define those social issues. Let's see. Any other questions? What do you mean? What list is it talking about? Could you clarify? Alicia, could you clarify? Okay, so if there's no more questions, I am going to shut off the live stream. Um, Look at it. Yay, they answered the questions. Thank you guys. Um, so I'm gonna shut off the live stream. I don't think the chat box is gonna keep open for very long after the live stream. I don't think it does that. So if you have any other questions, go ahead and email me. Not questions about the discussion board. Oh wait. Okay, Monica Martin says wait. Okay, I'm waiting for you, Monica. What you got for me, girl? Um, if you don't have any questions, you can log off, do your discussion boards, and I will see you next week. Have a good week, and do your work. Yes, mental illness can be a social issue. Monica, is that a question? Bye, Alicia. Have a good week. Can't wait to read your paper. Yes or no? Yes, mental illness can be a social issue. Yes, absolutely. Even if it's not you. Yes, absolutely. You got it. You know what, Cassandra? I'm not sure I know what that is. Could you define that for me? Monica, yes, even if it's just your family, because mental illness impacts a large population of society. So yeah, it's a social issue. I'm sure it'll be great, Alicia. Bye, Brandon. Brendan. Thank you. Bye, Kelly. See you next week. We have a lot of things to talk about for the Heller. We're getting lots of ideas on day one. Be prepared. Okay, I'm gonna shut off. So see you guys later. All right. Maybe I won't shut off. Oh, there it is. Okay. Bye, guys.